Hello students, in previous video we already studied the importance of macroeconomics. In today's video we are going to learn more about limitations of macroeconomics. We study the significance of macroeconomics remarkably increased after it was developed and popularized by J.M. Keynes, but macroeconomics have certain limitations. Limitations means shortcomings of the approach have to lead to its criticism. Some of the important limitations of macroeconomics are listed below. The first important limitation is ignore individual. The concept of macroeconomics overlooks the importance of group or aggregates and neglect the actions of individual consumers or individual producers. Its study is not useful. It ignores the welfare of individual consumer. There is always danger. We may ignore the numerous individual units which are the group. For example, we take the simple example. Suppose one person withdraw money from bank deposit. There is no any effect on economic strength of the bank, but all the depositors withdraw their deposits from the bank, then the bank will be closed down. Now, the second limitation of macroeconomics is the fallacy of composition. There is another limitation of macroeconomic analysis is the fallacy of composition. Fallacy of composition means false of generalizations. Aggregate economic behavior is the sum of total of economy of individual activities, but what is true in case of individual is not true in case of society as a whole. We take the simple example. For example, if one person saves money, so saving in case of one person is called as virtue or blessing. But if all the persons in the community saves more, then what happens? The total demand will falls. Because of this, the growth rate of the economy falls and the problem of unemployment creates. So, according to Kenneth Boulding, this is called as aggregative paradoxes, which used one person but false when used to the economy as a whole. Now, the third limitation of macroeconomics is to regard the aggregates as homogeneous. This is the main defect in macroeconomic analysis is that it regards aggregates as homogeneous without caring about the internal composition and structure. We take another simple example. For example, inflation is measured change in general price level with the help of wholesale price index, and it ignores the change in relative prices of different goods and services. So it creates the problem. Macroeconomic assumes that aggregates are homogeneous. Such an assumption is, however, unrealistic. Now, the fourth limitation, aggregate variables may not be important necessarily. It may be observed that aggregate variables forming the economic system sometimes may not be significant. We take another example. For example, in case of national income, suppose in first 5-year plan, national income of India was increased by 40%, but it means the income of each and every person was not increased by 40%. Only few rich persons income increases by 40%. So it creates the problem in case of community. Now the next limitation, danger excessive thinking in terms of aggregates. Macroeconomics is add up and find out the aggregate of individual units. This can be done when all the units are similar or identical. Otherwise, aggregates does not have any meaning. We take the example. According to Professor Kenneth Boulding, suppose the two units are similar or identical, then the summation is meaningful. We take the example. For example, 7 apples plus 6 apples is equal to 13 apples. This is meaningful. Now, 7 apples plus 6 oranges, 30, 13 fruits is have meaning to up to some extent. But the 7 apples and 6 buildings, the summation or the addition of these two dissimilar variables or factors is meaningless. So this is the limitation. Now the next, misleading and individual and discriminate use of macroeconomics for analyzing economic problems may be misleading. We take the simple example. For example, the policy measured adapted for full employment may not suitable for solving the problem of structural unemployment in the firm or in an industry. Similarly, measures adopted for controlling general price level may not be effective for controlling prices of individual products. Now, the seven statistical and conceptual difficulties. The measurement of macroeconomic concepts involves a number of statistical and conceptual complexities. These problems relate to aggregate of macroeconomic variables. If individual units are almost similar, aggregation does not present any difficulty. But the macroeconomic variables relate to dissimilar individual units, then their aggregation into one macroeconomic variable tend to be wrong and dangerous. Now, for example, in case of national income means income of all individuals of the country in a specific period of time. Suppose the maid servant serving her services in a house, we pay the payment to that maid servant, so that became the part of national income. But if housewife works as a maid servant, we cannot pay the income to her, so that is not a part of national income. Now the second example, suppose teacher teaches other students, he gets fees from other students, so that is a part of income which is included in national income. If teacher teaches his own son, he does not get any fees from his son, so that is not a part of national income. Now the eighth limitation, aggregate tendency may not affect all the sectors equally. All the macroeconomic trends do not have the same influence on all the sectors of economy in the same manner. For example, as increase in general price level affects the income of different parts of the or different individuals of the society. For example, if the general price level increases, then what happens? Income of producers, income of brokers, income of traders increases in a higher level. But in case of fixed income group or in case of general public, income not increases as compared to income increase by the producers or traders. So their real income falls, their purchasing power also falls. Now the next one, ninth, difficulty in measuring aggregates. Under macroeconomics, measurement of aggregates become very difficult. The relation is that there are numerous atoms in group of which are sometimes not possible to measure separately. We take another example. For example, the physical atoms which are measured in terms of quintal, for example, food grain, steel or cement. Now, in case of cloth, we can measure cloth in the rod of meter. Now, in case of petrol and diesel, we measure the petrol and diesel in liters. In case of depth and height, we measure with the help of inches or centimeters. So this problem creates. And the last but not least is the aggregates must be functionally related. The aggregates forming the main body of macroeconomic theory must be significant and mutually consistent. In other words, there should be functionally related. For example, aggregate consumption and investment expenditure, which form the part of macroeconomic theory. Y is equal to C plus I. Y means income, C means consumption expenditure, and I means investment expenditure. If they were not functionally related to the level of income, interest, and employment, if these composing aggregates are mutually inconsistent or are not functionally related, the study of macroeconomic theory will be little use. That's it for the today. Thank you.